Okay, I would like to call the Tuesday, May 9th City Council work session and special meeting to order. And first on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Lisa?
Oh, I said, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so first on the agenda, we have public comment. Is there anyone that would like to make public comment? Nancy? Would like to remind everyone that we stick to 3 minutes, and we're going to be as kind and respectful as we can.
You know me.
I know, that's why I started with that part.
I would like the council and the city people to know that in April, the Cannon Beach Food Pantry fed 806 people. We're glad to do it, but holy cows, it's a rough world out there. The other thing I'd like to find out is if the city council is having any consideration with result of the Sunset Empire Transportation District going down again. Is it time we started our own shuttle again? The Sunset thing has gone bad on us at least twice that I know of. And we need transportation in this town. We need transportation in the county. And I don't have a whole lot of faith in the board that's currently there and running for re-election to be able to support what we need done most of the year round now here in town. That's all.
Thank you, Nancy.
Kind and respectful and under 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'll mark that down. Anyone else in the audience? Yeah.
PO Box 942. Madam Mayor, councilors, thank you for hearing me this evening. On May 2nd, and I sent an email regarding this. I think it was a few minutes late because of the resolution before this one was passed. But on May 2nd, there was a resolution 2309 was up for consideration to establish a research advisory committee for the elementary school project. Whereas it was discussed in the April 11th meeting, there was no resolution until May 2nd. Until you have a resolution, there is to establish a committee. Applications that were solicited prior to that would be without merit. On May 4th at 2:21 p.m., I reached out to the city recorder to find out what how this application, I was told that it was closed. Well, until there was a resolution, there was actually no basis for a committee. So the application process was closed in 1.5 days. And that goes against the resolution that was passed prior to that one, stating that it should be 9 days before, I believe it's 9 days before the meeting. At any rate, I would like the opportunity to be able to have my application considered for that committee, and ample time according to the city's guidelines where it was not given for that. So I'm asking council to reopen that to make it available to everyone. I know that there's a lot of meetings and I understand this is important, but it's been important for a long time that this happened. And now feels like it's kind of feet to the fire. And I get all of that, but I really think that we've kind of, I feel as though the city stepped outside the boundary of what they've set for guidelines for the constituents to be able to be involved in this. Also, all of the meetings that you are having are outside of the normal meetings. So when somebody thinks of a meeting for city council, it's the first Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. And then I know things come out. There were emails that came out, but there wasn't an email that talked about this resolution until it was on the agenda. So at any rate, if you would please take that into consideration to open that back up in all fairness. And I want to thank the food pantry for everything that they do for everybody in the community. And those of us who do donate got all kinds of fanfare. I heard all this commotion out in our lobby, and there was singing and dancing, and they brought us flowers and told us thank you. And so we are very thankful to be a part of this community for the bakery. And I want to thank all of you for all that you do. And I see you looking at the clock, so I'm going to bid you, adieu. But if you would please take that into consideration, greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I'm always looking at the clock. Okay, anyone else in the audience? Okay, anyone on Zoom?
Yep, you have two hands up.
Okay. Will Rasmussen, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Will Rasmussen here.
Go ahead.
I'm one of the land use attorneys from Miller Nash. I'm here tonight on behalf of Haystack Rock LLC for the council members I have not had the chance to meet yet. My comment relates to agenda item number 6, the city's review process for the Roberts's development on remand from LUBA. My understanding is that the council does not anticipate taking any direct testimony on that agenda item tonight. So I thought I'd just make my quick comment here in public comment on the front end. The short version is that council should direct that this application be reviewed first by the Planning Commission on remand with opportunity to appeal to council. And there's just 3 reasons why I would strongly suggest that. First, that's what the state law calls for and what LUBA directed in this matter. Haystack Rock appealed this decision to LUBA because it was entitled to notice of the initial decision and an opportunity to appeal locally. And LUBA directed that essentially it be given that opportunity in its remand. If you take a look at the LUBA order on page 20, which I forwarded to the council members yesterday afternoon, it states pretty clearly that, quote, "We remand the city's decision to the city to provide the required notice and opportunity for local appeal." If the council were to take this issue up on its own as kind of the first hearing on remand, there would be no opportunity for appeal. Obviously, the council's the final decision maker for the city. And it'd be nice to avoid another procedural issue on remand. Second, as the council knows, the Cannon Beach Municipal Code calls for planning commission review. This was a planning director's decision that was made, and several chapters of the zoning ordinance direct that appeals from planning director decisions go to the planning commission first, and then if there's an appeal from there up to council. Similarly, as you would expect, Cannon Beach Comprehensive Plan regarding procedures policy 1 states that the planning commission has the primary responsibility for implementing the zoning ordinance. And then third and lastly, just as a practical matter, Cannon Beach would be better served by having the planning commission review this initially with an appeal opportunity to council. Obviously, the planning commission hears these type of initial evidentiary hearings all the time. They're set up to hear those and take all of that initial evidence, make a decision, and then if appeal comes, it puts the council in a better spot to have a complete record to review, have the issues narrowed and focused so that the council can kind of make any final policy judgment decisions that the city needs to make on a decision like this. I'm going to pause for a moment in case there's any questions.
No, we generally do not have questions during our public comment. And
Great.
you have used your 3 minutes. So
Well, thank you for the opportunity to
Thank
chat
you.
with you.
thank you. Okay, next we have Wendy.
Wendy Killington, can you hear me?
We can.
Awesome, thank you. Wendy Killington here. I'm an attorney and I represent Stan and Becca Roberts. I submitted a letter for your consideration and I'll summarize it here. This also regards agenda item number 6. As your city attorney will tell you, the city council has complete authority to decide whether to conduct a local appeal itself, or to have the planning commission do it first and then the city council do it second. And in our letter, we urged you to just do it the first time. This matter is going to end up before you anyway. You have a planning director decision of your former community development director, who was a well-recognized professional. He evaluated the Roberts application for their home and its access on a city subdivision residentially zoned lot and determined that it met all relevant approval standards. There are no particular complicated issues. It's a pretty straightforward application, one of a type that I imagine you see dozens, if not scores of times a year. And so in order to avoid a lot of cost for both the private and public sector and inefficiencies and delay, we would ask that you, the city council, conduct the remand proceedings. And again, your lawyer will tell you that you have the authority to decide to do that. There's another really good reason to do that, notwithstanding that, you're allowed to do it and it makes sense from a matter of public fisc and local resources efficiency. And that is that this matter is about housing, and state law, as you know, you talked about it at your retreat, says that we need to do a better job at allowing people to develop housing in our urban growth boundaries in our cities on land that's zoned for residential use. And so the state law says that local governments are not supposed to add procedures or standards that cause cost or delay that would discourage the development of housing. And if we start at the Planning Commission, we can expect a long drawn out proceeding that will be expensive, and then we'll have an appeal that will eventually end up before you anyway. And so from that point of view, recognizing you have the authority to proceed however you choose, we would ask as the applicants for housing that you please just decide to accept the remand and have the remand proceedings before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Betty.
Sorry, I just had a question because I didn't see a mute thing on so I didn't know if I could talk later. Never mind. I see it now. Thank you, Rusty.
Okay.
That's the best public comment we've had in a long time. Okay, anybody else? Public comment? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, first on our work session agenda, we have an introduction of Daniel Contier and Jason. I'm going to handle
I
this.
say this often, but this one is an honor. And not only because you guys ask me at least 3 times a day, when's the book? But introducing Daniel Contier, who is no introduction to you guys. He's been with us for 7 years, and we've really enjoyed working with him as a parking enforcement officer, and he is now starting as our code enforcement. He's most recently worked as port security officer for the Port of Astoria, and he has a strong desire, if you can't tell, to serve our community of Cannon Beach. He's already done a great job doing it, and I think that we'll be very happy with how he serves, and I think he'll be a long-term and loyal asset to our community. Some interesting fun facts. I'll let him introduce his family that's here, taking up half your audience. But one thing, his grandfather's here in the audience, and he was in Alameda Police Department for 6 months, and then, he's in San Francisco for 6 months, and then moved to Alameda for 30 years. And he had the number 18 in his call sign, and then Daniel's uncle, Sean, was a police officer in Alameda as well while his father was there, worked his way up and moved to Cedar Park, Texas, and was the police chief there. And he also had the number 18 in his call sign. And so when Daniel started yesterday, he asked if the number for our code enforcement is 715 or was. And he asked if we could move that to 718 so he would have their number and his number. So
Cool.
we're honored to have him and we think it will be a fun position for him and he'll do a good job, but I'll let you introduce your family.
Yeah, so my family taking up these 5 seats here. I'm happy to have them here for this, and I'm really looking forward to serving the community.
All right. Thank you very much.
And I just turned 18, so. Thank you, welcome. What, Nancy? Okay. So welcome aboard, we'll keep you busy. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the Tolovana Hall lease terms. And Bruce, now you want to start the top?
Sure.
Thank you.
I have 3 minutes.
No, two.
Okay.
Brandon told me.
On April 14th, 2023, Tolovana Arts Colony Program Director Andrew Tonry requested to meet with the council to revisit the question whether or not Tolovana Hall should be allowed to rent to private parties. The email was forwarded to the council and the councilor requested that it be added to an agenda item. On August 11th, 2020, council reviewed the Tolovana Hall lease renewal. A discussion was held regarding item 4, use of premise, which only allows use for public purposes. No revisions were made to the language at that time. The current lease became effective January 1st, 2021, terminates December 31st, 2025.
That's it.
Yes,
That's it for the staff report, yeah.
yes.
Thank you, Bruce.
He was given 2 minutes.
Yeah, he only took 2 minutes.
Job well done.
Yeah, and Andrew, you're here as the director of.
I am. Thank you. Thank you, council, for making, I love how quickly we were able to get this on the agenda. It's awesome. Thank you. I'll tell you what got this ball rolling. I got a message from a local mom who lives down the street from the Tolovana Hall. And she was like, hey, our daughter's fourth birthday is coming up. We'd like to have a kind of little birthday party with friends and family over there. And I said, well, we're not currently allowed to do private rentals, but I would, bring it back to the council. I think, I will say, so we haven't done it ever since we had that conversation back in, what did you say, 2020 or, it hasn't been an issue for many years with the COVID break. But throughout that time, I left that part of that stuff on our website, Tolovana Hall's resource, because I would get outreach from artists, and some artists come with a model of like, hey, we want to kind of put on a dance performance. We want to do a rental. That's just how their business model works. And then that opens the conversation for me to say, well, we can't do a private rental, but let's partner on the thing. So, I've seen what demand is coming in. It's not a big demand, but I think something like, a family birthday party, or the other kind of request we get is like, let's say some families are in town and there's just not a big enough place for them all to come and have lunch or something like that. And they can't afford to buy out a restaurant for 20 people or something like that. So I think it would be a good use of the space. Always, I think the primary uses would take precedent or over, if there's a workshop, that's always going to be first, or if there's a community meeting, that's always going to, get first billing. But it would be, I think, useful for the community. And I think it would be our prices, if you guys allow it, we'll revisit our prices because they haven't been looked at in a long time, but they're very reasonable. And we're not trying to start a business, but it would be a nice little raise a few funds for the arts colony as well. So that's my piece.
Questions?
So there would be additional janitorial services associated, wouldn't there? With, like, if someone had a private party there, who would, because the city is right now covering janitorial.
Well, there's not really janitorial services. The trash is taken out. I do the cleaning.
Do you do the actual sweeping of the floors and washing the floors?
Or me or our board and volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah, the city does, they take the trash out.
Okay,
And how I would,
Ask a clarifying question, that you take the trash and put it in the receptacle and Recology picks up the trash, but the
No.
city does.
no, it's the carpet cleaning truck,
Oh, okay,
those guys.
okay, thank you. Okay, got it.
and then would you need additional insurance in order to open it up for, I mean, would you have to
No,
have
our
a
insurance-
rider on
Our
your,
insurance would cover it. It covers liability for the whole building and all that stuff.
and for private, and what about alcohol?
That's my question.
If so, I mean, like, there would never be alcohol sales.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, if there was alcohol, doesn't that up your insurance?
I'd
premium?
have to check.
Okay. And would the money go to Tolovana Arts Colony, or would the city get a percentage of it because they own the?
We're talking about like, $150 for 6 hours. And some of that's gonna be me coming, unlocking, me coming, so it's not a lot of money. But it would, as I see it, support the arts.
Okay, and would they be allowed to use the kitchen?
Different fee structure for that, more to use the kitchen, and
Right.
the kitchen takes more time for me, because I have to come in there, light the pilot lights, do that stuff, so the kitchen, if somebody wanted to use, the stove, the oven, it becomes a much more of it's a bigger cost, and, it's more my time.
And the city is paying for all the utilities, so that's why I was asking if the city would get any kind of a financial benefit. If someone used you say no, that wouldn't be part of the deal.
I mean, if we wanted to, if that was the deal breaker, you could probably make it, we could,
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Just
I
trying
mean,
to-
again, I think the amount of utilities we're talking about. This is like I'd be surprised if it was used once every 3 months. Surprised, judging by the amount of asks I get for it now.
So my concern was with the alcohol also. I mean, I know would not be able to sell it, but
I mean, it might.
have a $2 million
Yeah.
liability insurance policy, which is required by the city.
Yeah.
But I would like to see what kind of coverage there would be for alcohol being served at events.
And it could be a situation where, depending, if somebody had to get a OLCC permit, because they do the event permits, that could be involved in it as well. I don't
Right, insurance, right.
I don't understand insurance
Yeah.
deeply. So if anybody wants to help me understand it.
Well, you'll love my next question.
A boost of your insurance for the particular function,
Right.
I would have to just check with our guy at State Farm. I don't know.
And Tolivan Arts Colony pays a child abuse insurance because of the academy there.
I don't think that's because of the academy.
just because they have children's classes.
Okay, children's classes.
Reality.
So maybe that's not an issue, but would that cover third parties that you're subleasing to?
The child part?
Yes.
I don't.
I would think it would.
So their-
I get like,
Their insurance would,
as I understand it, it covers people getting hurt in the space.
Liability, right?
Liability, yeah, but beyond that, very Byzantine and hard to understand.
Andrew, how many people max do you envision being able to do? Just whatever.
It depends on the configuration, like if somebody was doing, like when we have a presentation and we put out chairs, we can get 70 people in there, but that's, sitting in a, like this.
Yes.
When tables and food starts to get out, it eats that space away very quickly. We had a kind of coffee shop pop-up where Gary Kasky played, and we had coffee and tables out, and then we're talking about 30 people comfortably, 35. Like that space is not large, and as soon as you're putting out tables, it gets eaten pretty quickly.
I guess my question would be, you don't envision an event where at any given moment you exceed the maximum occupancy of the building?
No.
Thank you. That was-
No,
What is the maximum?
the maximum occupancy that's posted, and I think this was posted by Lisa when she was the program director, something in it's high. I can't recall.
I didn't post, it was there.
It was there, okay.
Yeah.
That's- yeah.
I think that, I don't know, the fire department says it or something, so whatever was there, was there.
I've just always gone by that, but but off the top of my head, I do not recall.
What would you see as potential limitations for use? You said some things that it might be used for. Where would you draw the line on some things?
I think that would be a board question. We talked about it earlier today. We had a meeting before this and, the board felt that it should be used for community uses like, a grandparent's birthday or, some kind of family reunion. Some on the board felt like it should only be used for community things. I felt like if a bunch of family members from Washington happened to be in Cannon Beach and wanted a place where they could all have, gather, I wouldn't turn them away. But again, it's a board decision. I think we would draw the line probably at a nakedly commercial use. If somebody was gonna, if somebody was
Naked.
strange turn of phrase. Yeah, like if somebody was gonna come in there and have like a timeshare meeting, I don't think that's what we're here for. I think if somebody was gonna come try to, it's such a case.
Not a pressure now,
Huh?
not a pressure now since you went sideways here for a minute ago.
So does the board approve all of your outside, not outside, but all of your events?
Yeah, I mean, what we decided, what we talked about today was, if y'all are okay with it, we'll have to revisit our policies. But there wasn't a point in us spending a whole bunch of time if you just say no. So we figured that's how we'd look at it.
Well, since we can't vote on it tonight, I assume you're looking for direction from the council.
Yes, because it would be a bylaw change, bylaw, is that right?
Lease.
Bylaw change?
Yes, so my point being is that I assume we'll get a redrawn contract if that's the direction. So at that time, there'll be more discussion.
Mhm.
And I don't know if we'll want to nitpick the contract at that point. So I'm kind of a bit at a loss as to what kind of direction you're looking for, Andrew.
I was under the impression that it would just be advisory by the council. I don't want to revisit and rewrite the lease and do all that stuff. That wasn't.
I don't think we can do it.
Have to change the lead.
But I mean, the procedure is, out of my scope. But the way I took it to understand last time was like the council, it was the council felt like they didn't want us to do it, so we just tabled it. And that's kind of basically what I was hoping to do is to tell this family that they could have the birthday party at the end of the month, but it sounds like that's not going to happen.
Well, not under the current contract, yeah. Because it says pretty unequivocally, not for private, it's for public use. So I don't see how we could get the whole thing redrawn and a whole new contract in time by the end of the month. I don't see how that would work. But I just would like a little more information. I'd like you to talk to your insurance people and make sure that, that is something you want to do. If you find out it's going to cost more, I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, let's put aside cross the T's and dot the I's when we come to that. Is it obviously not going to happen in May, but like, where does the council feel on, is having a family birthday party, is that not okay for that space? Because that could just We could just answer it all right there.
I think before we answer that question, we're asking for more information. So the things I think we need to find out from you is whether or not there would be additional riders for alcohol use. I would be curious to see your current fee schedule, just to kind of assess if somebody is coming in, whether or not.
It is available all on the website right now.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd be interested in whatever language revision to item 4 would preserve the public use for it, but still allow some of these things that you're talking about. So I'm not sure exactly what that looks like or how we get there.
Bruce?
I'm confused in terms of, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm confused. Why do you have a fee schedule if you're not renting it out now?
We had a fee schedule, I think that Lisa developed for us.
We never rented it out.
I didn't create those.
I don't know.
Anyway, until the renewal of the lease,
The what?
it's never clear to us that that was the policy. That was,
It was never clear to you that it was just public use only policy? Okay, so do you levy fees at all?
levy fees?
Well, charge fees for anything at all now?
We don't do any private usage now.
Okay, so you have fees on the website?
Yeah, that's why I asked about the fee schedule.
I don't understand why he has fees on, why he has a fee schedule if it's just community public events.
As I told you earlier, I've left that stuff up to it opens the window of communication with artists that think their business model is a rental, and then we partner. I mean, it's not ideal, but you know,
So you don't collect the fees then? You have a fee
I've
schedule,
not taken a fee for it.
you have a fee schedule, but then you guys work it out
Yeah.
for your partner.
Yeah.
To help the artist, which is,
Well, I mean, like, just to make it a public event, you know,
Right.
not a private. I mean, like, again, like, it's like, is that still would be a public event? I mean, it's.
Well, like if someone wants to do an art class there, so I like to teach an art class. And then you would partner with it, you make it open to the public.
right,
Yeah.
They'd still be charged for the art class, but they wouldn't be charged for the facility, you know.
What we just bring them into the fold under our fee splitting, the
Right.
75-25 split.
So if I was teaching an art class and I wanted to charge $10 a class and I got $100, they would take it over. They do the publicity online about the art class. And I would give them $25 and they would keep, I would give them 25 and keep 75
Right.
for myself as the artist teaching the class, but they'd still get a fee that way because they took over the whole program.
Okay.
And made it open to the public. So
but then
that's,
you said something about if there's food.
That's just from that old, and again, I didn't even create those documents.
Okay.
Those existed when I took the job. I don't know where they came from.
I don't either.
Well, 2016, my daughter graduated from high school and myself and 3 other families, we all had an event there. It was very nice. I would really like the public to be able to do that once again.
Did you have to rent it under the fee schedule? That was in 2016?
That's the year my daughter graduated.
Hope you had it that year. Bruce, did you want to say something?
Yeah, a couple things. One to Brandon's point about whether it opened up the whole contract, if there was a discussion. You folks probably have the ability to open up that contract anytime you want. And so we don't have to do it. You can do it where there's just a single item on the for discussion. And so you can do it that way. And again, Brandon, you're in the middle of everything here tonight. Brandon's family had done it before we let them know that, no, it's only supposed to be, the public, that it worked out fine. Apparently it worked fine. It was just something that was in the language that somebody caught and said, well, can't do that anymore. So I think we have some experience. if you ever do want to totally revamp the contract, you can hold all the cards. And so if you want to go ahead and address just a single item, I think that's possible. And this is probably going to come as a shock to some of you, but we have several meetings this month still to go. And so if you wanted to, and you wanted to expedite, it is possible to.
I don't get that, Bruce, because I'm looking at the contract as it's written right now.
Mhm.
And we would have to change we're not going to go against the contract that's already there.
Correct.
But amend.
We would have to amend the contract. You're saying do it before the end of May?
No, we don't.
Well, if we wanted to add it to an agenda of a meeting that's already scheduled, we could.
Okay.
I'm just giving you your options.
Is that in order to facilitate the birthday party? Is that why you would want to do it that quickly?
Again, I'm giving you options, but because he did mention something before the end of May, I said that it's something that we could accommodate. What it would be a simple thing that we would change that language, you all could take a vote on it. And then if we wanted all the information before that, we could.
Why was that language put in to begin with? What,
I think that Lisa put it in.
who?
Just kidding.
No, that's not me. No,
It worked for Andrews.
yeah, no, really, why was that? Why was it changed from what it formerly was?
No, formally, I don't know if it
I don't know if it's
changed.
changed or not.
I think,
Well, if Brandon had a party there, obviously.
Again, it never became aware to me. I never even looked at I became aware of it when we re-signed it, because then we actually sat down and looked at the contract and had a discussion with the council, and it felt like news to me.
I think practice at the time was that that would count as a public event, or nobody read the
My
agreement.
goodness.
Yeah, that language was in there in 2016, but that's the farthest back I go on the server.
I do want to clarify, it was not on the council at that point.
And there was no
Elected that year, though.
No alcohol was served.
Not to my recollection.
You don't recall.
But Lisa had some, right?
No, that, I just didn't, I mean,
Okay, I just want to do.
I wondered if it was a reason why that was put in. And love to know what the reasoning was, if it was a legal reason, what it was.
There's another document. That is the lease with the chamber. Because the city owns the land and they own the building. And there's some things in there that past practice kind of run over what's in the lease. For example, in the lease, it says if you use it for anything besides public events, you forego, the city gets the building. And they've been doing private events and weddings and things like that there for forever. So it's really not enforceable. I think there was a time that it was the rules were strict and they put those in. And then over time, they kind of got smushed a little bit and changed. And what happened is you've got past practice. That yes, it says that, but you allowed these other things to happen. And so I think that's where those things come from. Because we find several things like this that are very strict.
Yeah, I guess I'm more of a by the contract type person. And I think the contract says something, you're supposed to follow it. And and it's not that it's not enforceable, it's that it wasn't enforced.
Right.
It's a separate thing from not being enforceable. So, I mean, I'm just saying that, I think that whatever a contract says we should follow. And if we're going to change it, we should change it.
Sure, we have been following.
Yeah, I know you have.
That's why
I know that. No, I do know that. And so I think, we should, if Andrew can get that information from the insurance people and make sure that's not going to, make sure if you get what you wish for, it's not going to be something that's going to mess you up. And then, and then we can have a discussion with all the facts.
And I'll ask Ashley if we would require additional insurance,
Right.
the city to require.
Okay,
it,
great.
and then- So I'll shoot her an email.
Okay,
Especially if there's alcohol involved.
yeah. That'd be part of
Yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the chamber policy with alcohol, right? I mean,
They have
their
alcohol.
own special insurance to accommodate.
Right. And they also have OLCC permits for every event. So,
Yeah, so we're not saying, we're just saying a little more information, then we'll figure it out all together, hopefully.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know, Andrew, I'm in support of what you are asking. I think there's just some things that the council needs to know to make the
Right.
decision.
Right.
And since we can't make it this evening, it will have to be done later.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure how that fits in with,
I mean,
The birthday.
I told them up front. I was like,
okay,
this may, there's still enough time. They're not putting all their eggs in the one basket. Like,
okay.
Are they people from out of town or,
they live down the street.
oh,
okay, so you know what you need to
Yes.
provide for us.
And we'll bring it back, unless you tell us otherwise, we'll bring it back to the workshop in June. Into new information,
Okay,
unless you want to try to make something happen before the beginning of June.
well, I'm amenable to that if everyone else wants that.
do we know when the birthday party is?
I could, toward the end of May.
Towards the end, but I mean,
I have it in
My bad.
my email.
okay.
No, it's probably, if it's not that big of an issue, we probably shouldn't go ahead and add it.
Let's do it right.
It'll be great if they make it possible. They're the impetus for this thing.
I know.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. No, so June.
June.
Okay.
Okay.
Nothing like a belated birthday party. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the scope of review determination for Jeffrey and Steve Moon, appeal of planning commission decision to deny a comprehensive plan amendment and zoning change. Robert?
Good evening, members of the council. Robert St. Clair, city planner. The staff report for the scope of review determination is that the City of Cannon Beach Planning Commission rendered a decision to deny a comprehensive plan amendment and zone change for an undeveloped property north of the intersection of East Surfcrest Avenue and US Highway 101 at its April 27, 2023 regularly scheduled meeting. Jeff and Steve Moon requested review of the Planning Commission's decision by filing a notice of appeal dated May 1st and received on the same date within the 14 consecutive day appeal period from the date of the Planning Commission's April hearing. The notice of appeal requests that the council conduct a de novo hearing allowing for the submittal of new evidence. Moving on, the city council is to hold a meeting to discuss the appropriate scope of review for the appeal as a non-public hearing item to determine the terms under which it wishes to review the matter according to section 1788-160 of the Cannon Beach Municipal Code. The city council shall use the notice of appeal considering the criteria set forth in section 1788-180. These standards are included in the staff report to decide whether to restrict the review to the record before the planning commission, limited to additional materials that feels are warranted, to hear the item de novo, or remand the matter to the planning commission for additional consideration. Once the council has determined what procedures will govern its review, the planning department will issue notice of appeal, which will identify a date and time for the hearing that will be held in June. And that concludes the staff report.
Hey, does anybody have any questions for Robert?
Thank you, Ron.
So some
Well-
discussion.
I listened to the planning commission meeting and I think a bunch of us did.
Mhm.
And I don't see why we can't just review it on the record.
It does say that he's got new information he wants. to
No,
share.
they're saying they want to have it de novo.
Yeah, they said, that's what they're saying.
And I think given what the findings of fact and conclusions of law are or findings of fact for the planning commission, I don't see how. I think it's just, I think it's just a desire to, reiterate what they've already said. And I just can't see how there'd be new evidence given what these findings are.
Well, on the application, it states if you're requesting a hearing on specific issues or a de novo hearing, please state the reasons for requesting such a hearing. Underneath it says, I would like to introduce additional information to support the request. Part two. So
Yeah.
I think we should hear that.
Yeah, I think.
I don't see a compelling reason though not to.
It opens up a whole, now then you can have, it just opens up, it's longer. It requires, if you have a de novo hearing, then you have more information introduced. I'm just saying, I think we can do it based on this record, but if, I'm just one person who thinks that.
Okay.
I'm not like committed to it. It just seems to me that it's unnecessary to have a de novo hearing in this particular issue. The comprehensive plan is what it is. It's not going to change. There's nothing new that they can present about the comprehensive plan and how it fits in with that. So I just don't see how it's relevant to have additional information.
I guess I disagree in that. The request for a zone change and the needed housing that we have been discussing at length amongst the city council is something that I would like to hear the proposal for a zone change. And I guess I don't necessarily agree with the decision, but in terms of just what the argument is at hand, I would like to have more information presented to me.
Okay, and I think that, okay, did you hear what the argument was for doing it?
Yes.
Okay. I believe that they said that they're only going to have 3 houses there, and that's all they wanted. Period. That's what they said on the record several times.
And if they present new information, I'd like to hear if perhaps they've changed their mind. If I say no to any new information, I'll never hear that.
Right.
Okay.
It also establishes a chance for us to present a dialogue about what may or may not happen.
Okay. Brandon, if they change their mind, then that should have been presented to the planning commission. It's not new information. It's changing their mind. New information to me is new facts relevant to the issue at hand. And I don't see that that if they change their mind, then it should go back to the planning commission. They should reapply to the planning commission if they have a different idea of what they want to do now. But, I'm just saying that's my take on it, and I'm just one voice.
Okay.
So.
Other voices? Nancy?
If Brandon wants to hear new evidence, I'm fine with that. So de novo, it's fine with me.
And I agree with that.
Yeah, I have some questions about the planning commission findings, but I don't think this is the place to discuss them. I think de novo hearing is a good alternative.
Okay, everybody clear on that? Robert? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to close the work session and start the special meeting. So the first item on the agenda for the special meeting is consideration of minutes of many meetings. Thank you, Jen, for getting all those done. It's interesting to read the minutes and think, oh yeah, we did do that in March.
She's only a month ago.
Yeah, the discussion.
Just one question, Barb, I read the minutes over so many times for the retreat, and I can't find the part where we talked about the 3-minute thing. I just can't find it.
Well, now is the chance to
That's why I'm asking
Yeah.
where it is. I can't find it.
So if anybody,
Does anybody know
it
where
is
it is?
there, because I just
Yeah.
can't remember which meeting it, I mean, it was, I think it was, well, it's during the council retreat. and
Right,
so it's
and I looked
either-
at both retreats over and over again, and I see where we talked about something to do with public, when public testimony should be. Yeah, that's where I looked, and I still couldn't find it. Where we said,
And then the second day, we talked about it again with the 3-minute limit.
okay, so there's nothing about 3 minutes in this.
No, we just talked about how we're
Right,
accepting
right. So where was the 3-minute thing?
in the second meeting towards the beginning of the re.
So I guess maybe it's not in here.
No, we addressed the 3 minutes during our re.
No, I know. No, I'm not doubting that. I just can't find it in the minutes. So, and that's my problem. Because I had asked the question, if we were going to limit 3 minutes for the public comment at the beginning of the meeting, or just when we had an issue, like the dunes, where we had 100 people testifying. So we limited it to 3 minutes because we couldn't do it any other way. I mean, it was just, too much time. We'd be here till 2 a.m. But I didn't realize that we decided to do a 3-minute limit on the beginning testimonies. That's why I kept looking for it in the minutes and I can't find it.
That was actually in place beforehand.
Was it?
Yes.
So prior council had a 3-minute limit on any speaking for the,
Yes, in our, on our website, each page, we have public comment is limited to 3 minutes. And then it was up to be enforced by the mayor.
okay. Oh, okay, because
Been there.
we just haven't enforced it necessarily.
Correct.
Okay,
Sounds like a contract we just discussed.
that's right. If it's in the contract.
But I know specifically, we did have some discussions about the fact that we were going to honor the 3 minutes.
Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought
Okay,
it was,
gotcha.
yeah, I thought it was about special hearings.
Okay. So anybody else have any questions or revisions for any of the minutes?
I saw a few minor things, but I don't think anything changed the
Content.
intent.
Right.
So I will move to accept the minutes from the 8 meetings listed on the agenda.
Second.
Good. Gary. Okay. All in favor, or is this a roll call?
We usually do an all in favor, so.
Let's do an all in favor. All in favor for those 8
Yes.
volumes of minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. Thanks,
You
Jennifer.
found some things in there
Oh,
too.
sure. Sure. Find things all the time.
Yeah.
I get tired of writing about them.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have appointment to the Cannon Beach Elementary School Rejuvenation Research Advisory Committee. And I think probably the first thing that we need to do is discuss what we heard in public comment tonight. In terms of when the nominations were closed.
Well, I think since I'm Miss Contrary tonight or something, I don't know, but I'm thinking, my feeling is that I think it's better to err on the side of being inclusive. And I think that if we made the motion on the second, we should keep it open the appropriate number of days, not just close it after a day and a half. I know that's a big pain and it slows things down, but I just feel like if nothing else, the appearance of fairness is really important to me. So.
I agree with that statement, Lisa.
Oh, that's so nice.
So what would you see when you're kind and respectful?
Right.
Yeah. So Lisa, how long would you propose to keep it open?
Well, there was a mention of 9 days from the second. So was that, I don't know where that came
So
from.
we do have a meeting on the 16th
Mhm. And make the decision.
and have a special meeting just for that, because that's a work session.
Yeah, that's a community outreach.
Outreach event.
So we could tag on a special meeting to that if you'd like.
And it would be very short.
You have to
publicize that in terms of that is a special meeting?
Yeah, so I posted the agenda earlier today, just as the COE. I would just revise the agenda. We would either do it at the beginning or end. You guys can make that choice, and we would close either the special meeting or the work session and then go into the other one, and you can do that then.
Okay, that sounds really good.
So let's start with the special meeting on that day, and then advertise to everyone that it's open for application until
11th?
the
16.
the meeting's
The
16th.
meeting's the 16th, so your deadline for public comment is 3 p.m. the day before.
Right.
Oh,
So nominations would close next Monday by 3 p.m.
Jen,
or applications.
do we use applications coming in at the same time as comments? I don't think we do.
Well, if you're doing a regular committee application, we ask them to be turned in earlier. This one that you don't actually apply for an application, we would just have to keep an email their interest, and then council was going to talk to them during the meeting. So this is a little bit different because it's not a regular.
Sam, but if it is a committee appointment, it's a committee application because people are, I mean, so.
But it's not
Like you, and also the whole point is to give you more time to review as opposed to the last minute. So what would be the time frame? When does the agenda officially go out?
Well, it went out today. I would have to revise it tomorrow to include this. Because the meeting's next Tuesday.
So maybe that isn't the best meeting. We have other options.
Yeah, we have a meeting every week.
Yeah.
There.
At least from now on.
Yeah.
To eternity.
through eternity.
For the month of May, we have the 16th, which is the community outreach event. We have the 24th, which is the land use training. That's
Yeah.
No.
the 30th is Tuesday, the 30th is the project funding, and Wednesday, the 31st is the wetlands joint session.
So how about the
Funding would
The funding
be
one.
the more appropriate.
Okay,
Okay, so we will do a special meeting
yeah,
first on May 30th.
okay.
Let's do it second. There's a lot to do. I think a lot of people would be interested. And since we're coming up with this after we already said we would have this discussion about the funding of the projects, I would recommend or prefer that we do the funding of the projects and then do this subsequent discussion.
I mean, reverse the order, do it after.
Yes, you've already got something that says it's going to start at 6. And it's very important. So,
And then just right after the meeting.
everything we do is
Okay.
very important.
yes,
Yeah, but also you have other people showing up right up on that day.
possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we do it on the 30th, when would the deadline be for interested parties?
So the packet for the 30th would actually go out. That is the Tuesday. So that would go out on the 23rd. So I would if we're going to follow
Our new, right?
Mhm.
it would be 9 days before that meeting. So 9 days before the 30th would be 7, 8, 9,
21st.
21st.
19th is the
The 19th is the Friday.
Friday.
And so as long as I have them by the morning of the 22nd, because the 9 days before is actually.
Okay,
But if I have them by the end of the day that day, I can put the packet together on Monday and we can distribute it on Tuesday.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
So the new deadline is when?
20.
The 22nd.
The 21st, the end of the day, the 21st, because I need it
No,
by
it's
email by
not.
the 22nd.
So 5 PM, 5 PM, May 21st.
5 p.m. or 3 p.m.?
Well, that's a Sunday.
Oh, okay. So talk it up during coffee with the counselors, if people want to get on that. Advertise it. Okay. Thank you to the people that came and applied. We're going to move it along. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Bye, Sam. Thank you.
Pleasure being here.
Yeah. Okay. So next we have determination of the review process for remand of application for building permit filed by Stanley and Rebecca Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is Carrie Richter. I'm the fill-in city attorney for Mr. Kabizman, and I was going to offer a short staff report if that would be appropriate.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, on March 21st, 2022, the city of Cannon Beach approved a development permit in conjunction with a building permit to allow the construction of a dwelling at tax lot 51031 AA 600, an undeveloped parcel adjacent to the platted Nanana Avenue right of way by Stanley and Rebecca Roberts. The owner of the adjacent property to the east, Haystack Rock, appealed the decision to the Land Use Board of Appeals. On March 16th, LUBA issued its final order remanding the decision back to the city, finding that the city was required to provide notice to nearby properties and hold a de novo public hearing on the matter. The applicants have now requested that the city move forward with the process of processing the application on remand. And as a result, the city has 120 days or until early August to make its decision. So the first step, and the reason why we've come before you during this special meeting, is to ask the city council what process it will use on remand. Cannon Beach does not have any code that provides a process for considering matters that have been remanded from LUBA. So the question becomes one for the city council: what body should hear the hearing, should consider this matter on remand? The council could choose to hold the hearing itself. Given the history of this project, it is likely the council would ultimately make the decision on the project anyway. And most of the councilors are well familiar with the situation on the property. However, the council could also choose to ask the planning commission to hold the remand hearing. The planning commission is certainly familiar with holding these types of hearings, and it may be useful to the council to have the planning commission take the first cut at issues that would likely be raised. But the point of the matter is that it's wholly within the discretion of the city council to make this determination. What the LUBA decision said is that the city has an obligation to provide notice, and then it has an obligation to hold a de novo hearing. And it can decide whether the council wants to do that, or if it would prefer to send it back to the planning commission. And so either approach this council decides to use will not create any sort of procedural error. In fact, there are a couple of LUBA cases that say that there is no right to a local appeal. There's no prejudice that comes from that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. If not, I will conclude my staff report. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I guess, could you clarify the last comment that you made about the opportunity for a local appeal?
Sure. There are a couple of LUBA cases that say that where you are proceeding on a remand from LUBA, which is what this is, the local government has discretion to decide how to proceed on remand in the absence of any obligation set forth in the code. Local government is not required to repeat the procedures that it would have used in the initial review. And that case, excuse me, that case is known as, it came out of McLaughlin Neighborhood Association versus Oregon City. It's a LUBA case that our firm was involved in from 2020.
I don't have the language in front of me at the moment, but there is an argument that LUBA included the words local appeal in its remand. And I'm wondering what that means. If the council takes on the decision and it's appealed, would it be appealed to LUBA, and would that be considered a local appeal?
No, the appeal to LUBA would not be considered a local appeal. A local appeal would be the appeal from the planning commission to the city council. And I do appreciate that that's what the language says, but I can also tell you that the LUBA precedent is that there is no right to, there is no procedural error that results from not allowing a party to have a local appeal. In other words, the city council's review is going to give a participant all the procedural rights, so long as it's a de novo hearing, that they otherwise would have before the planning commission. And I heard Ms. Kellington talk about needed housing and the obligation to process these appeals efficiently. And that is a real obligation. And I would be a little worried that sending it back to the planning commission will result in delay that wouldn't otherwise occur if the city council made a decision. But again, it is purely within your discretion to decide how you want to proceed. So long as we have notice and a de novo hearing, I do not believe there will be any procedural opportunity for challenge at LUBA.
I also heard that argument, and I have a question for you, the argument about the housing. I thought that, to me, that argument was not relevant at all to this issue, because that argument, that the LUBA remanded it for local appeal. And that, that's what they asked for. So whether the local appeal takes longer or is more of a hassle for either party is not the issue. The issue is who's going to hear it. And whether or not local appeal means planning commission and council, or whether it's open for interpretation. I don't think I don't see that the housing thing or it causing more problem has anything to do with it. I disagree with that. But I think it's really an issue of how we want to do it.
It's been at page 20.
Yes. Line 40.
Yeah, on page 20 of the LUBA document, line 15. Accordingly, to remand the city's decision to the city to provide the required notice and opportunity for a local appeal at the de novo hearing.
And I know that I was one of the people who really pushed hard for it to go directly to the council originally, but now I'm not as sure about that, just because of the language in this opinion.
I guess is the opinion that we are the local appeal.
We could interpret it that way, I think. But
Do we have an opinion about that?
I think you could interpret it that way, that the city council is serving as the local appeal. But again, I think that the question that LUBA has said, what LUBA resolved in this decision is that petitioner was entitled to notice under the law and entitled to a de novo hearing. And that's what review by the city council will provide.
So you use the word could. Should it be should be the local appeal board?
Well, the city council is the local appeal board. There's no question about that. The question is whether or not the LUBA opinion requires the petitioner to have an opportunity for a local appeal. Pay the fee and file the notice of appeal.
Okay.
And that is not a right that is recognized necessarily on remand in cases where LUBA has considered this question.
Okay.
because they use that language in this opinion, I'm wondering, wouldn't it be an abundance of caution to follow it to the letter and have the planning commission hear it? And then if it's appealed up further to the council, then we hear it. I mean, I don't want to see another issue based on this. On the, this is about notice originally. So, and under the notice, it would have gone first to the planning. If they'd gotten the notice that Luba thought they should get, it would have gone to the planning commission and then possibly up to the council if it was appealed further. That's what would have happened if we hadn't had, if the appeal had not been, yeah. So that's why I'm concerned. That's why I've had a change of heart, because now I'm concerned about it.
Well, I think that's certainly valid, Lisa. She's stated very clearly that it's up to us as a council to decide. I also think that absolutely this is not the end of it. It's going to keep going and going and going.
You think?
That's my opinion. I still feel like it's the city council's choice to be able to hear this, and I still feel comfortable with that decision. Speaking for myself.
Yeah, and I'm nervous about it. I'm concerned about it. Just because of the way this is written. And because the whole issue ordinarily would have gone to the planning commission. If notice had been given, it would have gone to the planning commission. They would have appealed to the planning commission. That's what bothers me.
Now you're making me.
Well, I mean, yeah, I just,
Having said what I said, I'm comfortable with the consensus of the council. I truly want to hear what you have to say, and I think in hindsight, it's possible to regret either decision,
yeah,
but we are requested to make that decision this evening.
true.
Yeah, I came in thinking that that we should hear this.
That's how I came in too.
And then we got dueling attorneys' letters. And we've got advice from attorney here that hearing it at the council level satisfies this. But I agree, there's a little apprehension about the specific language used.
Well, let me ask you this question. If we said to the planning commission, you hear it, would there be any possible problems that could develop out of that decision that you can see as the attorney?
The only problem is that needed housing provision that talks about when local governments review applications for needed housing, they cannot, the review cannot result in unreasonable delay.
Is that unreasonable?
That is not defined in the statute. And, taking the time that the city has 120 days to process the application. And, the issue though is going to be that we're going to have the initial evidentiary hearing, and it is likely that there'll be a continuance request after that. And then, so assuming the planning commission hears this in June, there's going to be probably a continuance, and it'll probably go into July before the planning commission. And then an appeal to city council. I believe then you all will have the opportunity to decide whether to hear it de novo or not. So my only concern is just, 120 days feels like a lot of time when you're at the beginning of that time, but it doesn't feel like a lot of time when you have meetings once a month. And so we're just gonna have to be mindful of that deadline and keep this moving along.
The
And I
timeframe was
think,
one of
I
my
think that would
concerns.
satisfy the state law requirements to the extent that sending it back to the planning commission could be construed as unreasonable delay.
You think it could be construed as an unreasonable delay?
I think that if we keep it moving along and we, make every effort to if we're gonna allow continuance, that we keep the timelines as short as we can. I do not think that would result in unreasonable delay.
Okay, good.
But can I envision a situation where we have new evidence submitted at every continued hearing, and that requires leaving the record open, and that could be unreasonable delay. But I think with the statute says we'll make a decision in 120 days, and I appreciate the language in the LUBA decision. I'm comfortable with the recommend, should you decide that sending it back to the planning commission is appropriate, we'll do that.
Just so everyone knows, the 120-day deadline is August 26th.
Thank you, Jen.
Oh,
Madam Mayor, you know that I've been concerned with the 120-day rule and the time it takes for things to possibly come out of planning, and how little time the council has had with those. So I'd like to ask our counselor a question. What is the worst case? I mean, assuming that the council takes this and completes it, makes a decision within 120 days. What is the worst case? If it gets remanded back again?
Right, so Haystack Rock would appeal the decision, assuming it's adverse to them, and they would argue that by not sending it back to the planning commission somehow prejudiced its rights and was inconsistent with LUBA's instructions on remand. And, looking at the cases as both Bill and I have, in the absence of procedures in the local code on remand, there is no prejudice that results from the city council holding a hearing de novo and providing notice to the same degree that a participant would have before the planning commission. So that's.
You're saying they'd appeal it to LUBA, but they probably wouldn't win at LUBA, wouldn't prevail. So
I don't think they are likely to prevail at LUBA, but.
right. But if we sent it back to the planning commission, there's nothing really appealable because it's not unreasonable delay. If through the planning commission and the council, it's resolved within the time frame, barring.
Well, and then the Roberts appeal and argue that it is unreasonable delay. I mean, there's risk in both approaches, I think. But I think either approach is defendable. And I think that the city is likely to prevail on either front, being cognizant of the 120-day deadline and the need to move this forward. And as the easier it is for the council to do that, that's the process we should take.
So it was the applicant's attorney communication that expressed the concerns about the delay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think that the greater threat for the city is we don't meet the 120-day deadline. And then one of the two parties goes to court and is able to get a decision that somehow the city, they can move forward with their plans or whatever it is. That seems to be my understanding of what can happen with the 120-day rule. And I think that is something that, especially with the case that's got more and more stuff coming in, people can delay it. And I think that's a greater threat myself.
I agree with that statement, Bruce, I just don't agree with what the outcome will be. What I think would happen is, what's happened before is that with the planning commission hearing it first and the clock ticking, is that we would be forced to make a decision, but we'd be forced to make a decision in haste.
Yes.
And that is what, to me, would be more important, to be able to control that 120-day clock and make the decision that we felt most comfortable making.
That's a good point.
I agree, but I also really think that if we don't send it to the planning commission, that the LLC is going to end up appealing it and saying we didn't allow them the full process of planning commission. And I just think that could happen.
And what happens, that's why I asked the question about what happens if we were to lose that. Didn't seem, the way I heard it, it didn't seem as extreme as you missed 120 days.
Oh, no, I agree, but I don't see how we would miss the 120 days. I just don't think we would, but
Well, I think that the time, from the council standpoint, from watching what happens and when council gets an item, even if it's 30 days, it's really 10 days. Because there's a 20-day notice involved in that. And then frequently somebody asks for a delay or continuance in the first 30 days. So there's 30 days there, there's 50 days. And all of a sudden it's 70 days for them to get the job done, especially with one meeting a month as they've been doing. And then there's no time left for you. And you are the decision maker. And I think that the haste argument is extremely valid. And I think that the downside is on missing 120 days.
so if a party asks for a continuance, don't they automatically waive the 120-day rule at that point?
I don't know that.
No, they do not.
They do not. So if like, let's say the LLC asked for continuance and they asked for several continuances, that the clock keeps ticking. Unlike-
The clock keeps ticking unless the Roberts agree to extend.
Okay. All right.
They have to consent.
You can only, I'm sorry if I can ask a question. You can only get one continuance though, correct?
You can only get one continuance, but people are allowed to respond to the submittal of new materials. And so at the continued hearing, if new materials are submitted, the other side has to have an opportunity to respond. So we're going to have to be very deliberate about that.
And anybody can ask for continuance, not just the parties in the appeal. It's anybody can ask for a continuance, right?
At the first hearing.
At the what?
That, only the first one.
Oh, right, okay.
I think I landed back where I started.
Yeah, me too.
After considering the argument based on the time frame and not delaying based on what we've heard from the city attorney, I think we should handle this.
I've gone back to that same.
Yeah, I haven't, but that's okay. I mean, I am not married to anything, obviously.
Nancy?
I agree.
Okay.
So would someone like to make a motion? Do we need a motion?
Go ahead.
Need a
make the motion.
Could you give us a motion?
I thought there was one in our.
I don't see it.
Can.
I'm not sure whether there's a case number assigned to this, but I think that the motion would be that I move the process for remand of the application for a building permit filed by Stanley and Rebecca Roberts shall be considered by the city council at its meeting in June for a de novo hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Jen.
Okay, real quick, who was the second?
I was.
Okay, Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor Kerr,
No,
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes.
Hey, Mayor. Yes, a question about council.
Sure.
Is it possible to set a separate meeting as opposed to have this part of a regular agenda? Because I imagine it's going to be complicated and time consuming. So that might be something that the council wants to consider.
I think that now that we've got a plan moving forward, Jen and I had talked about the notice going out on May 24th for the council meeting on June 13th. But if you want to set a special meeting, we could accommodate that too.
How do people feel about that?
Sure.
you don't feel like June 13th is soon enough?
No, I think it's soon enough. I think that if you have 6 other items and then you're going to go ahead and pick this up, I think it's going to be complicated. And
Okay,
I would just recommend a separate meeting.
okay. I'm all for that.
Sure, why not? We have a couple of days that we don't have meetings.
I was going to say, there's got to be 2 or 3 days we don't have anything.
So June, so far, we have our first meeting on the 6th. The second meeting is the 13th, which is the one we were just talking about, and we have a joint code audit meeting on that Wednesday, the 14th. So we would either need to look at that first week or after the 13th, 14th, unless you want to try a Thursday.
So either the 15th or the 20th, maybe?
I'm unavailable on the 20th.
Okay. So the 15th, just have three meetings? Bruce can make more chocolate cookies.
You know what, with the way the month falls in June, that's actually the third Thursday, because Thursday's on the 1st.
Oh, how
That is
weird.
crazy, how crazy.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often, but yeah, so that one,
Is
Is there
it
planning?
not possible to have it in the earlier part of the month because of notice?
no, we do have time. Let me pop in.
For the 7th?
If we were to do it on the 13th, my notice would have been the 24th. So if we were to do it a week earlier, my notice would be next week. So we would still have time to
The
notice.
7th, is the 7th available?
Wednesday, the 7th, the council chambers is available.
I can do that.
I can. To give you enough time to get.
I'm just double checking real quick. I just pulled up the document. I don't want to, not wrong. So we did it on June 7th. Tracked 20 days. Means my notice would go out Thursday, May 18th. So
You can do it.
That'll work for everyone?
Yes.
Does the attorney want to weigh in on the?
That's what I'm asking.
No, it sounds good to me.
Great, thank you.
So June 7th at 6 p.m.
Our cycle continues. And that'll be the only item on the agenda. Okay.
And what did we have on the 13th?
A code audit. Oh, no, no, sorry, the 13th is the work session with a special meeting attached because that's budget. And
Oh, that's our, yeah, that's a regular fee schedule.
which also on the 13th, we do have another appeal. So there is a benefit of switching this to a separate day because the Moon appeal would be heard on the 13th.
Okay.
Okay, so Wednesday, June 7th.
Wednesday, June 7th.
Thank you, Carrie, for your
Yes, thank you very much.
guidance.
Complicated issue.
Yes,
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
thank
Have a good
you.
night.
You too. Okay, next we have good of the order.
Where'd everybody go?
Until about 10 seconds ago, they were all sitting and picking.
Yeah,
Oh,
Seriously?
yeah,
oh, probably plotting our demise.
Yeah.
yeah.
My tires better not be flat.
That could have been anybody.
Yeah. Okay, anybody have anything for good of the order?
Yes. Okay. We got the letter from Jim Pano and
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Jen sent him out a letter today. I contacted him by phone and asked if he was available on this coming Thursday during the budget committee meeting. And I just wanted to discuss that, if that would be amenable to those on the council.
You mean have a separate meeting after the budget committee with?
No, to have him present during the budget committee meeting,
Present what?
his presentation.
Oh, on,
On the marketing for the marketing budget for the chamber,
I don't
but
think we want to mix
yeah.
two.
I'm not wed to it. I wanted to bring it up in good of the order because
Right. No, I understand that.
he is available and was. Am I correct, Bruce? It was a mistake on the city part that just didn't get him on, and I felt like we should be accommodating to him.
I mean, no one else is doing a presentation like that during our budget meetings, so it seems.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little more concentration, and I think I'm going to be exhausted by the time we go through the rest of that agenda.
Right.
So that means when
And
we see it.
Right, and Lisa's not here for the budget meeting.
Okay.
Not this
And I
one.
think it needs to be the full council
Okay.
for the presentation. So we probably should try to figure out as soon as possible another meeting. So we don't have a third, the budget meeting on the 18th is just if needed, correct? Are people available
On what day?
on the
18th?
18th?
It was slotted for the third budget meeting if we need it.
Got that if needed.
Right, so do I.
Yeah.
At 1:00, you talking about?
And then if the budget meeting, if we have to have a third meeting, and you never know, of the budget committee,
Right.
then we would have to come up with another date for Jim's. But that would be a slot where we all know everybody's committed.
I'm okay with that. It's going to be up to,
Whether Jim's available.
Available or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'd make things too convoluted if we had him present during our regular.
Jim's on there and listening too, it looks like.
Oh, he's back.
He's on there.
Oh, okay. Hey, Jim. Dana?
See if Jim is there. There he is.
Jim, we're in the good of the order section of our meeting and are talking about scheduling a meeting with you for the demo presentation. Are you available on Thursday, May 18th at 1 p.m.? And the only,
I'll have to check my schedule because I was supposed to be out of town that day,
okay,
but I can double check and see what time I'm supposed to leave. If it's later in the day, it might be possible. I just don't know at this moment.
okay. And the only drawback with that date is it potentially could be a third budget committee meeting, but we're not thinking we're going to need that third meeting. But we'll
Sure.
know that until we've had the second meeting. Yeah, so if you could let us know.
All right, I will double check my schedule and see if that works or not and get back to you right away.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Jim.
So anyone else have anything
I do.
for good order?
Yeah.
Lisa?
So I'm curious about process because I'm not sure how it works, but I understand that there is some kind of people within the required distance of the house on Ash where the appeal for the tree has been, there was a tree appeal
Yes.
and it's going to be heard. And some people have been informed who live in the area that it's, and I'm just not sure. How does that work? Are those the only people who get notice that is it heard? How is it heard? How does the process work?
Could you come up, Robert, please?
Yeah, so I think this might be a better question for Jen as far as notice. I'm not 100% sure I'm following your question.
Well,
Because right now it's basically being handled the same way as any planning commission agenda item, to my understanding.
oh, it's on the planning commission agenda.
Correct. And
Okay.
the notices for that meeting, I believe, went out on Friday.
And was the tree appeal included in that?
That should have been.
Did the surrounding property owners get a notice? of
They did.
that?
They did. That's how I found out about it.
Okay.
Someone told me that,
Within how many hundred of,
I believe it would have been 100 feet.
yeah. So it's a planning commission agenda item.
Correct.
So they hear the appeal and they make the decision. Is that how it works?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct. It's similar to any of the other administrative decision appeals. The first step is that it gets appealed to planning commission. Then the next step, if there is an appeal, it would come to city council.
And the people whose property are aware of the fact that they can't take any action until the appeal is heard.
As far as the contractor is aware that he can't remove the tree, correct?
That's what I want to know, or destroy it in any manner,
Any further?
any further. Yeah.
Okay,
Did a job on it already.
thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Lisa? Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Okay, anything else for good of the order?
Copy with counselor?
what's that?
Copy with the counselor?
Oh, yeah, coffee with the counselors on Monday, and you're going to be on,
Yeah, something I was looking at my flight. Yeah, that's when I fly back on that
Oh.
day. And I'm thinking I won't be any place where I can Zoom
okay.
because have to be out of my Airbnb by that time. So I'll be like kind of on the street waiting to take off or in the airport. And so, so I'm wondering if someone should,
Somebody like to take Lisa's place
on that Monday.
that Monday? It's next Monday at 10 a.m. here at council chambers.
Why, Mayor Barb?
I could do it.
Oh, good. Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Way to take one for the
Because
team.
Barbara's really scared. You can tell by the look on her face.
I don't know if I can be Lisa, but
You can be Gary though, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Right.
great, fine. 10 a.m. Monday.
Just watch him after the fact.
Yeah.
Yes. Just for
Me too.
well, now you'll be live. Okay, anything else? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.